Okay, we're actually live. Hi, Rajesh. Thank you for joining us today. And absolutely warm welcome to everyone else that is tapping in today and listening in or watching us, being super awkward on camera post-corona. But let's get started. So welcome to today's Future Friday Industry 4.0 interview session with Rajesh Iyengar from Lincode. The Future Friday, just a quick introduction, is a platform for connecting between startups and corporate in the search for innovation, with a specific focus on Industry 4.0 and factories of the future. And that's the Future Friday is also where we showcase these startups, and soon enough we'll also be showcasing corporates and their search for innovation. And so today I have Rajesh joining me, and I wanted you, Rajesh, to quickly introduce yourself, but in my words, Rajesh is a very impressive, not only founder of a startup, he's also actively advising to multiple companies. Rajesh, tell us a little bit about you, your background, and what led you to start Lincode.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Donna. Thanks for having me in here today. And so one of the primary reasons why we started Lincode is because we went to some of the manufacturing companies, asking them about the top 10 challenges. And astonishingly for us, 86% of them told us that quality inspection is the biggest problem. And that kind of got us into build, and then we wanted to go deeper into it and see why it is. And so once we started looking at why, and that's when we figured that it's a great challenge to solve, and there is a big potential for AI to play a big role in the smart manufacturing or Industry 4.0 to help manufacturing companies to do the inspections, and that led us to start this company.
And what in your background, what was the passion? What was the drive that was really there to kind of get things started?
Yeah, sure. So prior to starting Lincode, I have 3 successful exits in the startups, and a couple of them in the Bay Area. So most of them had manufacturing tech at some stage. So it always had that, and we used to get a lot of interest from various customers globally asking us, can you solve this particular problem, or this, can you help us with this particular thing? So we always gave a pass because we are not focusing on those aspects of the business. So, and once we got acquired in 2017, mid of 2017, we wanted to get something into AI, and we really want to use the deep learning that our team had a great expertise on. So we wanted to see how deep learning can be applied into manufacturing and how things can be better there. And that's the reason it really helped us to get into the manufacturing tech space and keep our focus only on the manufacturing tech space, basically.
So Lincode is an AI visual inspection company that's assisting quality control and assurance. And I think now I want to ask you in one sentence, why Lincode? And it's really an open-ended question. You can say, why you started it, or why your customers should choose you. And then we'll dive into the problem that you guys are addressing.
Sure. Your voice is kind of breaking, so I'm not clearly understood. But what I understood from your question is basically, how do you phrase Lincode in one sentence? That's what I understood. So, Lincode is primarily a visual inspection company. I would call it as a vision intelligence company because factories of future is going to be all about vision. There will be a lot of use case of vision in the factory floor. So we want to be focusing on the vision applications for manufacturers. So in short, we are a vision intelligence company helping manufacturers, go digital or transform using artificial intelligence. So that's what Lincode is all about.
And And could you dive in? And so I'm going to speak slowly to make sure that you can really hear me well.
Yeah.
But can you dive into the problem? We want to hear about what factories are experiencing, and why is it so urgent for them to solve this problem the way that you are solving it?
Yeah, sure. So, for over a decade, they've been relying on a specific technology for, vision applications, basically, which is, they call it as a golden image template matching, which is basically identifying, what is good and bad. Like, they call it as a OK or NG or accept and reject, basically. So this was a technology which has been there for a while, and AI started just about 3-4 years back, or in some cases 5 years back. Some of the companies started seeing how AI can be applied into the vision statements, basically. But generally, what they were facing was this number of false positives are very high. So this was driving them to look for alternate solutions. And the second thing is total cost of ownership. So most of the manufacturing companies will have more than 5 or 6 lines, and for them, scalability is an important factor to have a great TCO is very important to have a great scalability, basically. So with the current set of solutions there, so it's very expensive for automating a specific line, and that's the reason they're always looking for a solution which can be completely autonomous in inspection nature, and then it can be cost effective, and they can scale it into multiple locations, basically. So this is the always look out for the manufacturing companies, and that's why it is very important at this time of given the COVID as well. So there are a lot of manufacturing companies are trying to be work from home, or they want to automate most of the manual process, and autonomous part plays a big role as of today in the manufacturing lines.
Okay, so that's a good teaser, right? Like, where I hear that with your technologies, with your technology, companies can automate things to such degree where the human resources can be allocated towards other tasks, and there is a lot of remote work that can happen. So tell us about the solution. We want to hear all about it. How do you solve the problem? How is it applied to the problem, and how does it make
voice
factory work much better? Yeah,
I'm sorry, your voice is breaking up quite a lot. I cannot.
Funny enough, I can hear myself very well. But yeah, there is there is a voice. There is a, yeah, and I can't hear you very well either. Maybe let me try again, and I'll try to speak slowly. So how does Lincode solve the problem for the factories? How does it automate some tasks that previously could not be automated?
Yeah, sure. So traditionally, inspections are looked at in 2 ways. One is, if it's with the conventional machine vision applications, it is just very easy for manufacturers to train the particular product and then go and automate it and automate the inspections, basically. But with that, with the false positives occurring very high, and some of the defects were not identifiable with the machine visions. That's when the AI was looked up as a secondary solution initially. And with the AI, the kind of problem they faced were how are they going to train a new part into the line, actually. So when an AI company deploys a solution, it usually takes about 4 to 6 weeks, and then if they have to add a new part to the line, same line, then have to call back the same vendor and ask them to come and then train a new part and then get that going. So for this, it takes again about 3 to 4 weeks, and this was not acceptable in a manufacturing line. So this is one of the reasons why there is a need for a different solution. And our approach towards automation is basically we have built a platform. The platform allows the manufacturers to train the part themselves, and also it works seamlessly with any kind of automations. It could be a robotic arm, or it could be a special purpose machines which is built specifically to do the inspection on the line. So basically, flipping the product, or getting it on a conveyor, or rotating the product 360 degrees. So these are the elements which is primarily looked up in the autonomous side, and we do have mechanical engineers who can actually help manufacturers use these kind of designs done for them, and simplify the inspections and get it fabricated through some of our partners, and they go and deploy it for the manufacturers basically. So that way the complete autonomous inspection is carried out today.
Tell me about maybe like an interesting customer, an interesting use case of how you implemented, and what were the drivers of success, and what were some metrics that you saw post implementation. So for example, you could you increase the productivity by X amount, or reduce the amount of rejects.
Yeah, sure. So we had this one customer who was producing catalysts. That could be a great use case to talk about. So it's basically a cylindrical product, and it has metal internal construction. So it is very difficult to see through that product. So humanly, it is not possible to see through that product for any kind of blockages. So this customer was more worried about the blockages, because it's basically a engine catalyst which goes between your car's engine and your exhaust. So it goes right in between that to filter out any particulates basically. So it had to be block free. So this customer was using various tech for the last 10 years, and he was not able to 100% have accuracy on the blockages basically, because of the nature of the product. So they were always struggling, and that's when we got an opportunity to work with them, and our engineers took a look at it, and then we figured that it is not only just a AI problem, it is also how this material has to be inspected, because the image capturing was very important for us. So our team came up with a quick couple of days they spent, and then they came up with a quick solution to look at how we can do the inspection on this catalyst. And we built this particular product, which is basically takes care of the automation of the looking at how the catalyst is, first thing is 360-degree inspection on that product, and then it gets into the next chamber, and there we are looking at the blockages. So that helped our AI engineers to get a good feel about the image, and also could do the block inspections basically. So we gave them 91% efficiency on what they were currently using, and we also did it reduce the turnaround time. Earlier they were taking about 40 seconds to do the inspection for the one product. Now they are doing it in 8 seconds basically. So with around 19 parameters is what we are doing the inspection on that particular product, and the turnaround time is just about 8 seconds. That includes various stages of inspections basically. So that is what we are able to bring them. And in terms of their productivity, it has really improved that, like almost 40% improvement in productivity they have achieved. And the overall ROI was within a few months, like 5 to 6 months, they were able to get the ROI from that particular implementation. So now they are going and taking it globally. They are looking at the same product into different locations basically. And that's the biggest differentiator what we brought to the table in this particular customer. So another use case is for a robotic assembly line. So this particular automobile customer of ours, they were having in the conveyor, they were having cars bonnet and then also cars doors, and they were taking about close to 8-10 seconds for every product. And we were doing the inspection of around less than 0.1 mm. So the robotic arm was applying a sealant across the doors and also the bonnets. So we were inspecting if what is the missing sealant in a specific line, and that was done very, very fast. So it helped them to improve their productivity again, and also reduce any defects going into their customers basically. So that was the second product. And the third important thing was on the electronics manufacturer. So they were inspecting some of the electronic components, and earlier they were taking per component, they were taking about 10 seconds, and for 20 components instruments, they were taking 2 minutes for the inspections basically. But because we used off-the-shelf cameras, we used really inexpensive cameras in some of the places, like just $100, $150 cameras basically. So that is helping. That helped this customer to increase the number of cameras to look at multiple products in one go. So to be specific, like we used 5 cameras looking at 20 different products in one go. So now we were doing it in 2 seconds. So earlier it was taking 2 minutes, 2 full minutes for inspecting 20 products. Now they were doing it in 2 seconds flat to inspect those 20 products. So that is the biggest, production improvement for them. In terms of, revenue, we would have definitely, made them possible at least 5 to 10x of revenue because of, faster production and then faster reach to the customers. And we also made it completely autonomous. So we actually eliminated a couple of employees working on that. They rather shifted them into some other important work, and they've removed this line. So they've saved another 200K easily for a couple of employees from that line basically. So that is a kind of savings that we gave them.
So I have to say, it sounds fascinating from what I could hear. I couldn't hear everything, unfortunately. Can you hear me?
Your voice is completely
scrambled.
I cannot hear clearly. Yeah. I'm just assuming take a wild guess
I
that
think
this is your
repeat that for me.
Sorry, what's that?
Yeah, I guess we can't hear one another very well, unfortunately. I'm trying to think. So I think let's jump over to the last question. Night and day. I almost want to kind of start over, because now I can actually hear what you're saying and respond to it. Let me just stress test it. So how's it going? How's your morning? It's not really a morning for you anymore, right? You're actually in the East Coast in Virginia.
I'm in Michigan, yeah. So it's afternoon for us here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can hear you well, and I guess you can hear me. So I think, just jumping back into the conversation, and I think we were talking about, you started diving into the technology and, what you guys do and how it's different, what makes you unique and how the technology is groundbreaking. You were talking about the amount of cameras, the type of cameras that you're using, and the fact that you can use pretty much off-the-shelf cameras. It doesn't have to be very expensive cameras in order to achieve marvelous results. Can you kind of go back to it and tell me a little bit more about it?
Yeah, sure. So one thing I would like to tell you is, we would say our thought process is something like how Steve Jobs thinks about, or how, Elon Musk thinks about going about a solution. So totally unconventional. So we don't really bother about whether or not we are following the conventions of industry or not. So what we really look at is how we can make the solution easy for the customer, and how it can give them a value, and how it can make their job better. So that is what we look at. that's a core value that we want to give for our customers. And even we look at, we are not looking at how technology can help them. It's basically how we can streamline or how we can make the production better. So that is the approach that we are giving. So on those lines, what we really thought is, by DNA we are totally a software company, artificial intelligence driven software company. That's our DNA. But that alone is not going to help the customers. So we cannot go and tell the customers, hey, look, we are just a software company, we can just help you with AI, you take care of all the bells and results of your cameras, lighting, we don't care, you need to bring in a partner and do it. So what that makes the customers think is, do I really need an AI solutions? If it's going to be this cumbersome for me, so why do I need a solution which is going to make my process even more cumbersome? So that's why most of our customers like the approach that we've given them. Like, that's why we have a mechanical designer, we have a IoT team, we have a pure AI team, and also we have guys who have experience working in aircraft maintenance, or working for Boeing, who have worked with deep down manufacturing companies, low tech, high tech. They're part of our team to make sure that we are not just delivering AI software. It is basically we are delivering a complete solution, which is the autonomous inspection solution for the manufacturer, which is cost effective and scalable. That's our approach basically.
That's actually very interesting, and thank you for sharing this with us. So in essence, what you're saying is, it's more about the solution and the technology that you're providing. It's really about the entire experience for the customer, from your company. And in order to ensure that the customer gets the best experience along with the best product and everything around it, you really made sure to have all the talent you need in-house to ensure that happens. Can you, is there an interesting story for, some obscure talent that you hired that became very necessary and proved itself to be a right hire after effect, after you hired and after a customer had a specific problem that needed to be addressed?
I'm sorry, your voice was again breaking, so I could not hear your question very clearly.
That was a tricky question too, I have to say. A lot to unpack around that question. I'll try to repeat that. So I was asking, it sounds like you have an interesting approach to hiring talent and to making sure that everything the customer might need is already in-house, and you have the best people to address it. So I was asking, if there was if ever there was this, unexpected need from a customer that you were able to address very quickly and very easily because of the hiring approach that you have at the company.
Yeah, of course. Hiring is an important factor for not only for our company, for any company for that matter. Having a right talent in a company is a blessing, because you don't have to tell them what needs to be done. So before even the situation comes, they are up and running. They are actually taking care of things. So that's a blessing you get if you have the right hire. So fortunately for us, we have a great team which is always on lookout for efficiencies and also customer problems. So that on that front we are definitely blessed, and we got the right talent, and that's really blissful. But on the technology side as such, since we are an AI company, of course we need to have our strength, which is artificial intelligence, to speak on its own. And on that front, actually, what our team has done, or what we have realized for the manufacturers, is how the models can be efficient. How do we infuse various aspects, like why this particular earlier technology was failing, or why the earlier technology had limitations, basically. So we picked up those aspects, like we keenly looked into those, and then we infused some of augmentation techniques with AI into this particular model, and that way we can drive a better solutions for the customers. So this also comes based out of the experience of this team, which is experienced firsthand themselves in their own companies, earlier companies, and they're also some of the architects of this particular product that is making things better for our customers, basically.
Okay, and I guess like just to recap, on this topic, because we did touch on it a few times, but I wanted to hear a little bit about the implementation process. Like, what does it take to get a customer to buy into the product, to say, yes, that's what I need, and let's, go about implementing the product? What are the challenges, I guess, during the sales process, and also then, what does the implementation look like?
Sure. So unlike other sales process, the sales cycle here is much longer. Usually it is 3 to 6 months, and the primary reason being most of the companies tried out and they're tired of trying out every new vendor in the quality inspections, because they never had very satisfactory results from whatever the tech they've tried before. And they're very scared. Some of the companies are really scared to try a new solution, basically, because they have already exhausted with various tryouts, basically. So that's the reason it comes, because at times it gets longer. But once a customer understands, yes, this is the solution we were looking for, and it's really working well for us, through our videos, or we do a quick prototype, a quick demo with their defect charts that they usually share with us, and we do it in our office, and we show them that, hey, look, this is what your current process is, and this is how we can make it more efficient, and they kind of like it. And then we proceed with the solutions. So from there, once we get a go ahead from the customer, usually it takes about 3 to 4 weeks. So initially, what we look at is the cameras. We wanted to make sure that right camera is there. Usually it takes about a week to 2 weeks to get the cameras, and then we do a model testing for a couple of days. And once the model testing is fine and we are good to go there, then we do a dry run for a week. So we call it as a staging. So we do a 1 week of trial run, and if everything goes well and the desired output is achieved, then we go live with the production, basically. So tentatively it is between 3 to 4 weeks. It depends on all the hardware availability, and then the customers nod to clearance to have some of the network, or some of the PowerPoints which is required generally. So the basic things usually takes a week to 2 weeks to clear everything from the customer side as well. So overall it is about 3 to 4 weeks, basically. That's our initial deployment time, implementation time.
Okay, and tell me a little bit about the landscape that you're operating in terms of, if any other companies are doing what you're doing, and if so, what really makes Lincode stand out?
Sure. So, AI is such a technology which does not need a long gestation time, unlike your other technology like a full stack development, or a web application, or a ERP that you're going to build, which all going to take a very long time to build, basically. Whereas in AI, the model development can take anywhere between 1 week to 1 month, and you are ready to go into a new domain and start delivering, basically. So because of this nature of the technology, there are too many players into this segment. I would say, like, a lot of players are now getting into this particular technology, thinking that it's a easy use case. But unlike healthcare or retail or any other industry, manufacturing is completely different and unique in various aspects, basically. So manufacturing is like every factory differs, every factory produces different products. So in AI, the base is you need a lot of data, like close to 6,000 to 10,000 images. So in a different, like healthcare or retail, you can get a public data sets easily. You can get data sets from various people, and this is common. Like in dental, you use teeth, and teeth is same for everybody. So for me or my kid or my friend, everybody is same. It's not going to change. But in manufacturing, every product is different, every factory floor is different, the way the construction of the factory lines are different, where the automation is done is different. There's a big difference between two factories of same customer, basically. So imagine if it is going to be different customers, it's all going to be different. So you cannot get a public data set. You have to rely on the local data set that you create, and that is a challenge. Creating a data set is not a joke, so it takes a long time. It can introduce a lot of false positives. So in a manufacturing segment, you cannot have a false positives. The accuracy they expect is probably 3 million sorry, 3 bad parts for 1 million data set. So that is what their expectation is. 3 itself is like very high for them. So they call it as a ppm, parts per million. So 3 parts per million itself is bad for them. So they are looking at 0 parts per million, which means whatever you're inspecting, it should be 100% accurate. So to get to that level, it's very difficult. It takes years of practice in a specific segment, and that's when you able to achieve that 100% accuracy, to give the confidence to the manufacturer, yes, this technology is going to work for me. I don't have to worry about the secondary inspection. So that is the challenge, and that is a market which is very niche. Probably I would say 2 billion to 10 billion is the size of that particular market. But as such, the smart factory market is about 600 billion.
Very interesting. So if I'm hearing correct, there are definitely companies that are doing AI visual inspection, but not in the factory industry. Is that correct?
No, there are many competitors in this space on the factory lines. In fact, forget about the competitors. A lot of manufacturers themselves have started doing AI by their own teams. They started implementing models. But what they realized, one of the case study is, we just had one of our customer, whom we interacted last year, who said we will come back to you, and they started trying with their own internal team, and they just came back a month ago to us, and they said that we tried out with our team, but we could not get to where we want. The accuracies were bad, and the manufacturing was in a disarray, and we had to do secondary inspection. So that didn't work out. So now we are looking for a professional approach. We want a 100% accurate model which can work efficiently for us. So it took a little bit of time for them to realize that this AI needs to mature. It's already as I mentioned, a lot of companies are there. I think it will take 3 to 4 years for everybody to realize that it's an industry which is niche, and it needs a very nurtured and matured product to do 100% efficiency. So for that, there are less players. It gets the competition gets shortened. There are only few companies which is doing currently.
Got it. Yeah, that's a very interesting approach, perspective. That's the word that I was looking for. That's an interesting perspective, and I guess there's a lot that come into play here. It's not only the product inspection part of the technology, it's also the AI, which we all know that AI is a very tricky industry to be in. A lot of companies are trying to implement AI on their own, and or kind of testing with a lot of different products. There's a lot of fail rate when trying to work with AI. So there's probably hesitation with AI products, but there are obviously winning AI products in the market. It's not only since it's a fairly new technology that has existed not a very long time. There is obviously going to be some fail rate, and companies like Lincode probably have to kind of cross the chasm and get the trust of the customers to be willing to look at it and consider it and then implement it. So it sounds to me like the implementation process is not that long for an AI company, right?
So this is purely because thanks to our earlier customer who had 120 lines and 2 different locations and 2,200 different parts. That's how we started our AI journey with one customer. That was our beta customer. So we were very fortunate to get the first customer itself with that kind of a scalable, big scale project basically. So that helped us to understand that we need to look as a product and a platform. Even on the model front, we cannot experiment too much. So we built a model specifically for plastics, specifically for steel and metal, and we made sure that whatever data we get from customers is very less. We just take about 30 to 40 images max. from the manufacturing line, and then we get going with the production basically. So since we are not looking at a big data set, we are looking at a very tiny data set, we are able to deliver it faster. And because of our approach with the model, we are more accurate than other companies out there. So it is purely because the opportunity we got with our beta customer in terms of a huge scale, and that taught us how we need to be looking at for our future customers basically.
Very interesting. So I think, we are unfortunately out of time. I hope that, we were able in this conversation to provide some value. I actually found a lot of things that you brought up to be very interesting and very insightful on the industry itself, on how factories are adopting innovation, and specifically on the niche of AI as well. I want to hear, just, as we wrap up, I wanted to hear a little bit about you. And we have the same wrap-up question that we ask all of our entrepreneurs. What do you, what is inspiring to you? Who or what is your inspiration, and how does it come to play in real life?
Sure. My inspiration is Steve Jobs, as I mentioned in earlier. So the approach he gives to any challenge or a solution, being a industry leader, and having a different thought process, that is actually what really makes me going. So I love challenges. I love to solve challenges from a different perspective and see how it can be useful for the people. So that's the base for any entrepreneur basically. So and then the important factor is building something of your own, innovation is the best possible way. So innovation will be like a pull product. So you don't want to be building a push product for your customers. So then it's hard to sell and you'll be struggling as an entrepreneur. So it's always better to build a pull product, which is of course difficult. But if we look for problem statements, or if you look for challenges from existing industry and then try to solve it in a different way, then definitely it'll keep everybody going. And that is the mantra for me as well. So I'm just following that.
Very interesting. Okay, thank you so much, Rajesh. It was honestly a pleasure to talk to you. And I hope that we'll have a chance to...
Likewise, Donna.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I hope that we'll have a chance to meet with you again and see Lincode grow and be accompanying your journey in the future.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
We look forward to as well. Yeah, thanks.